Hey everybody, welcome to Cut, Transform, Glue. So as you guys just saw in the thumbnail of the video, there's a tiny soldier sitting on the top of the combat robot. And I'll explain what is happening right there in the video, but yeah, this one right here, this video is about the continuation of the combat robot base. I have lots of ideas and interesting processes to show you guys, so without any further ado, let's get to the video. So here's the current state of the combat robot base. This is how far I was able to go in the first video of this project. Now I have a challenge with this one. I have a couple of challenges with this one. I need to make an interesting base. I really love the combat robot, so I need to make the best looking base that I can make for this one, and also I need to make it before the end of October. And the reason for that is that I'm going to have a maker fair here in my country, and I want to show my models there, so I need to make it before the end of October. Okay, so first I feel like the front of the base is kind of empty, so off camera I prepared these two pieces of styrene right here. I've cut up a notch on the top of those pieces, and I'll glue that to the front of the base. So I roughened up the surface, and I'm keeping everything together with some CA glue. There's nothing too fancy going on right here. I just feel like the front of the base, it is kind of empty, and I need to make the whole level of the front portion right there kind of higher so that I can add more structures to it later. Once that was glued with the CA glue, I just grabbed my snap knife and I did some cutting from underneath, kind of just following the shape of the base, and then I just had to break it with my own hands. As you guys can see, I've messed up in my measurements, and both styrene pieces ended up being shorter than what I needed, but that's okay, because on the top of it I'll glue this plastic piece right here. I don't know if you guys can remember, but this is the same piece that I've tried for the first top platform of the drone dog build. So as I always do, I've marked the surface, roughened it up with some sanding paper, added the CA glue, and then I just had to glue the piece in place, trying my best to keep it centered. Now this plastic is not the same as the styrene. I believe this is ABS, so I can't just mark the surface with a snap knife and break it. So I had to grab my Dremel tool with a cutting blade and carefully go around the whole thing. I don't know if you guys can see, but I have a cutting blade that's awful, and it actually burns the plastic more than it cuts, as you guys can see by the fumes. But yeah, once I've gone through the whole thing, I just had to break it with my hands, and I was left with just the front portion right there. Now there's still some flashing from the cut, so I decided to remove it using my mini disc sander. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of lost when I've left this project a couple of weeks back, but now I feel like this is taking a good shape and I like the result. But now I think that it is time to add the first coat of primer to this project. And so this is what I did next. I've added the coat of primer, and the primer magic never gets old. I mean, it brings everything together, and I was able to better see all of the pieces together. I was able to see how the project was turning out, and yeah, I'm happy with it. Now I'll start adding some 3D printed Creepies to it to add more surface detail. So let me show you something, guys. This right here is my box of 3D printed Creepies, as you guys can see right here in the label. Every time that I come up with a design for a project, and it is actually small, I print a bunch of those so that I can save some and put them in my collection of Creepies, like these surface details right here that I've used in my sniper spaceship. So I'm kind of taking the same approach I take with the Creepies with the 3D printing. And I'll begin by gluing these tiny bracket things all around the footpads. And to glue it, I'll use the low viscosity CA glue that I've just recently discovered. So it is awesome. I just have to position the piece, and the low viscosity CA glue kind of finds its way in between the pieces. It's amazing. Now, of course, the low viscosity CA glue kind of flows all over the place. So when you're using it, you kind of have to have some Q-tips around to kind of clean the mess. But yeah, I went by adding the bracket pieces all around the footpads, kind of trying to follow a particular distance in between all of them to kind of make it consistent, and I did that on both sides, on both footpads. And I really like the colorful 3D printed pieces against the gray primer. I don't know, but I feel like this is super inspiring. And then I glued this one right here. I've made this piece kind of trying to mimic the piece right there at the top, and yeah, I glued that in place with the same CA glue. As I often do in my projects, I decided to change some stuff because I started having some doubts about the design choices that I made here on the back of the base. I want to come up with something that goes well with the front portion of the base, and right now I'm not satisfied with it. Now I want to keep this piece right here, the one with the 4 holes, because I really like it, but I want to remove the other pieces. And to do that, to remove the pieces, I've used my woodcut tool, which works basically like a chisel. It is like a mini version of a chisel. And I'm happy that I've managed to remove this piece and keep it intact. I want to keep it, I want to use it in the new back portion. And I already have some ideas of the 3D printed pieces that I'll add to this piece right here, but that's later. And once I had all of the bits of MDF removed, I just had to give it some sanding to remove the remaining CA glue. So yeah, now as you guys can see, the back portion of the base is clean and smooth, and I can start looking to pieces to go right here. So again, I grabbed my box where I keep my big gribblies, and I found this piece right here, which funny enough also came from a dead printer, as always. But yeah, I really like this one right here. I feel like it kind of works with the other pieces, with the other design choices that I've made from the middle to the front of the base. Now I'm just marking the surface right here because I wanna really find the center of this base. I wanna keep everything as aligned as possible. And as you guys just saw, I roughened up the surfaces and I'm gluing it with CA glue. As I was removing the MDF bits from the back portion, I've set up this print right here, and now I'm just gluing it to this intermediate portion right here in between the front of the base and this new black piece. And as I like to do in this piece specifically, I kind of broke the symmetry, as you guys can see. And for me to just reach the width of the front portion of the base, I'm gluing some strips of MDF that were laser cut and I've saved for myself. And yeah, I'm gluing it with CA glue to the side of that black piece right there. And then I also decided to get rid of these details right here. I have some texture going on right here that I want to remove. But yeah, I've grabbed some other bits of MDF and I'm gluing it with the low viscosity CA glue. And just to close this back portion right here, I'm gluing a strip of styrene as always, and I'm breaking the extra stuff with my plier. Okay, so now I'm much more happy with the back portion of the base, and I'll start working on this interesting piece right here with the 4 holes where the power cables kind of will come out of it. But yeah, I'll start working on this piece right here. But the first thing that I'm gonna do with this one right here is that I wanna add some details to the side right here. But to be able to come up with a design that will be 3D printed to the side of this piece right here, I have to take some measurements. You guys can see that this is a triangle, and to find the perfect angles of this triangle, I just have to make some measurements. So the whole base is 45 millimeters wide, and this front portion right here is 11 millimeters. Now I just have to measure the height of this triangle, which is 19 millimeters. So now I just have to put these measurements to the Fusion 360 to get the perfect angles. So this is what I did. I've printed this piece right here, and the angles are perfect, as you guys can see, but I'm 1 millimeter short when it comes to the height of the piece, but that's okay. And now you'll see a glue as always to keep everything together. I've added a hole on each side of that piece, as you guys can see right there. That's just so that I have an opportunity to maybe hang some wires. And now I just have to glue this onto the black piece. But before I do that, I'll glue these 2 other pieces right here that I've saved from the previous design that I had. So yeah, everything will be glued with clear glue, and then I'll glue the back piece, aligning it right in the center. Oh, and by the way, the black piece right there is just a strip of 2 millimeters styrene. Now I just have to glue this structure right here, keeping it centered, and now I'm good to go. Now, at the risk of sounding completely crazy, I feel like this back portion is much better than the previous one. I don't know why, but I just like it. I just prefer this solution right here. Now, I know that I've said like a million times, but in these 4 holes right here, I'll put some interesting cables. Some will go to the mirror right here, and then go up to the robot, kind of like charging it. But some I want to go kind of to the sides right here, and for that I have some ideas. So a long time ago, I've made some interesting pieces to use on a project. These pieces right here. So as you guys can see, the colored ones are like the caps of a type of beverage, but I really like its design, and I feel like the interior of it is much more interesting than the outside. So I decided to use it. Now, to be able to fit it into a project, I scanned the shape of the cap actually, and then I came up with this design right here, which was laser cut in acrylic, as you guys can see, and it kind of perfectly fits around this cap, so that I can use it and I can enjoy this interesting interior right here. Now, of course, to fit this to the base, I'll have to drill a large hole, and for that I'll use this spade bit right here. Now, this one is going to be a messy one. This base is MDF, so I did that off camera, and this is the result. I have a perfect hole where I can fit the beverage cap right inside of it, and then I'll put the acrylic piece that was laser cut to the top of it. And I decided to rotate the piece to keep it in this position right here, so that those 3 interesting things right there can be seen from the front of the base. Before I glue the acrylic piece to the base, I just had to kind of roughen up the surface, and then with CA glue, as always, I glued it in place, and now this is part of the design, and I really like this choice. It is already looking good as it is, but now I need to make it just a little bit more interesting. So I've 3D modeled these pieces right here, and I'm gluing it to the front and to the back of that piece. Now I feel like I've got distracted and I didn't explain my idea for these caps that I've glued to the front of the base. Now I have the 4 holes on the back of the base, and from those holes some power cables will come out, and I want 2 of those to go into these interesting pieces because they kind of look like some interesting futuristic inlets. But then I decided to add even more surface detail to the base. So as you guys can see right here, I've messed up. I put a lot of CA glue, but yeah, I'm gluing some 3D printed surface detail that I've actually used on the sniper spaceship build. And as you guys just saw, I just had to use the Q-tip to remove the mess that I did with the CA glue. But here's the right way to do it. You kind of put 1 drop of CA glue at one corner, and with a sharp tool you kind of spread the CA glue all around, and then just then you put the surface detail. That's a much better way of doing stuff. Here's an interesting tool that I've made for this channel in the past. This one right here is the Rivet marking tool. I think some of you guys might remember it, and in case you haven't seen it, I'll put a card right here linking to the video. But yeah, I'll use this Rivet marking tool to create some rivet marks onto the base. Now, as you guys can see, it kind of digs a mark, a rivet onto the surface. Now, this needs a soft surface, so I kind of can only use it on plastic or ABS or maybe styrene. But yeah, it is super interesting. Right here in the back, behind the 4-hole piece, I'll glue some details. I feel like this one is kind of empty. So I'll glue these plastic pieces right here, and to keep the perfect distance in between each one of them, I'm using this Allen wrench right here. This is a futuristic base for a combat robot, so there's no such thing as too many power cables. So I'll add these interesting pieces right here to the base to give myself even more opportunities to put some interesting wires. Now, as I always do, I'll break the symmetry, so I'll put one right here in this spot right here. So I drilled the hole off camera, and now I'm gluing it with some CA glue, and I'll add the second one to another place, kind of more to the front of the base. Now here's yet another box of Creepies that I have, and in this one right here I keep some tiny details. And these ones right here are some buttons that I kind of dismantle when I take some electronics apart, and they look amazing, especially from the inside. As you guys can see, they have like tiny details. So yeah, I've drilled a hole into the base right in the side of the white piece that I just installed, and now I'll glue it, CA glue, just to the side of that. After I did that, I've glued even more surface details, like some round ones, for example right here on the interesting inlets. And now I feel like I have a decent amount of detail onto the base. I feel like the amount of surface detail that I have is enough, and I can move on to the next part of the project. So I've grabbed a 3mm steel rod that I had, and I started trying to mold it to make it look like a power cable to connect the base to the robot. This is just a safety measure. I mean, I need this robot to be sturdy at the base, so a third virtual leg would be awesome to make the whole thing sturdier. Off camera, I also drilled some holes that connect the bottom of the base to the feet of the robot with some big bolts. But now I really need your help. So as you just saw in the thumbnail and at the beginning of the video, there's a tiny soldier sitting on the top of the robot. This soldier actually belongs to another project that I'm making as a group build with my patrons. Check my Patreon page in the description box if you're interested in that. But I just put this one right here because I want to ask you guys. So as you guys know, my dioramas always have a human figure, and this one is no different. So I want to know from you guys, where should I put a human figure in this one? Because I was actually thinking about putting it kind of sitting and kind of chilling out in the top of the robot, just to be different. This video and this channel is only possible with my Patreon and Ko-fi supporters, so thank you guys so much. Hit the like button if you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave me a comment and I'll make sure to answer that, and as always, thanks for watching.